There's one golden, maybe the only technique actually, if there is such a thing, to coming to the recognition of the self. What are we discovering? What is the most primal experience? Or let's start with saying, what is the most primal, phenomenal experience we can have? That I am. So if this is the most primal experience that we can have, and it's been glorified for centuries as the primordial vibration, it has been called Atma, consciousness, God, all these various terms has been applied to this. Would it be too much to ask whether it is possible to go beyond even this? The sense that I exist is a common substratum to all existence. You cannot have the experience of any phenomena unless first I exist. I must exist. And stay with the words that I am using. Because very quickly the mind will try to add on things to what I'm saying and say, but I is what? That's exactly what we will look at. But at least this much we must all be able to agree on by now. That I am exist is undeniable in this moment. Don't go to the web of concepts, various ideas about yourself. You will find that I exist without any sense of what is after I exist. I am what? That can come later. So if anyone feels, if anyone that is here feels that they don't exist, that's a conversation maybe we can have after this one. But let's start with this simple, natural presumption that this is the basis of all existence, is that I exist. Then the only experience we will have of the self as we refer to as the self, is to find out the source of even this existence. Find out the source of even this existence is a direct pointer to that which we are looking for, if what we are looking for is self-realization or self-recognition. So it's right there. Right there. What is the source of my existence? I don't feel like we can get much more direct than this. One or two questions maybe. So now, if you're noticing your mind is trying to take you on some side track and try to bring your prior knowledge into this, then for some time just allow it to come and go. Don't be bothered with it. Stay with my words as much as possible. What is the source of my existence? Another way of asking this question is to ask, who is the I that exists? Which one is that one that exists? Feel the question in some way. say, I exist, I am. Which is the I that exists? Don't be quick to jump to conclusions, and especially those who have been in satsang. Don't feel like I know the answer. We're not going to rely on any prior knowledge as if it is our first satsang. A question has been asked, which is the I that exists? Only thing valuable here is not a concept, but is your insight about this. And even if the mind is resisting with all its might, and these words are sounding like rocket science, but actually they're very simple words, or they're sounding completely abstract. Allow these feelings also to remain or to come and go as they might be. Which is the I that exists? Allow this question to percolate your being, to permeate your being. Who am I that exists? And don't have any preconceived notions about what should show up. What does it mean, don't have? It only means if some notions of what should show up are showing up, then you just let them go. It doesn't matter if you studied which form of spirituality, how much satsang you have attended, all that we have heard or learned, don't bother with it for some time. I am, I exist. Which I is this one? Staying within the framework of this question. Now I'm going to start giving you some clues. Staying within the framework of this question, I'm going to give you some clues. And again, I'm repeating that don't add your interpretation to what is being pointed at, because the words in themselves are potent enough to point you to where they need to point you. We are trying to look at which is the I which exists. So if the sense of existence is here, sense of existence is here, and all that is perceived is moving in front of it. In my being, we can say it's contained within my being or perceived in front of my being. This is just terminology. Don't get confused by it. All that can be perceived is here, moving, time, space, light, sound, gravity, everything is here. What we are looking for is what is on this side. So for this side can be allowed to move in its own way for some time. Allowed to move in its own way for some time. But the exploration is what is that which is on the other side? What is here? So this is what we are looking at. This, in the middle of this illustration, is the sense of my existence. I am. The nature of the mind is such that it can only report on that which is moving on this side. What is on the other side, it cannot fathom. Cannot fathom. So you know that the mind will not be able to help you coming to a recognition about this. It might offer you a concept about this, but truly can't help you with a recognition or insight about this. This insight has to be more primal. It has to be more direct without the interpretation of the mind. So if you lift the veil of phenomena, is there nothing else to I? Is there nothing else to I if we keep all phenomena away? And as I was sharing last time, a simpler way to look at the same exercise is you put everything that you perceive in a basket called seen. Everything that you perceive, you put it in the basket called seen. I see this, so it goes into the basket. I see the world, it goes in the basket. I see the body, goes in the basket. I perceive my breath, goes in the basket. I perceive my thoughts, emotions, goes in the basket. I perceive, or I am aware of even the sense that I exist. So even this goes in the basket. So now, are you completely inside the basket? Partly inside the basket? or not inside the basket at all. A very simple exercise. Everything that you see, put it in the bag or basket of seen. What is left outside the basket now? Some of you might be having now the experience of your non-phenomenal self, when all the dynamic aspects of yourself have been put in the basket. And the impulse sometimes can be that I need to hold on to this. The impulse sometimes can be I need to hold on to this. But instead of that, today you try to put this or jump into the basket. Even that which is aware of every phenomena, can you put that also in the basket? Jump in completely and see if there continues to be an awareness, a witnessing of this basket in spite of all your attempts to jump in. Can you be contained in this phenomenal bucket? Or is there the greater aspect of you? And greater also I know is a spatial term, so doesn't fully apply. But you get the essence of what I'm saying. Does the source of all phenomena itself get fully contained in the phenomenal basket? So now we looked at two clues, isn't it? We looked at the first clue, which was to say that everything that is perceived, all phenomena, is on this side. Can we look at what's on this side? And another way of looking at the same thing was to use the basket metaphor and to say that if everything that is perceived can be put inside this or encompassed in a label called seen, is there something which cannot be encompassed in this label? Let me give you one more clue. Once I fix this table, and this one you heard from me before. The sense that I exist. Some of you are still struggling to find the sense of existence and it seems just like a mythical entity right now or something. You know, my favorite question for this is to try and stop being. Can you not be right now? In your attempt to not be, you will encounter your own being, the presence which is just present, the being which is just being, consciousness itself. There are two ways to approach this question. The first way, when I say, can you stop being? The first way you could do is you could say, no, of course not. What kind of question is that? I can't stop being. And that is just a mental answer. The second way to approach this question is to actually make this attempt to not be. Don't be for an instant. Don't exist. And you will notice your own being, your own presence. Like the Advaita police is here, maybe you can close this. So you are now aware of your own presence. That's why you say, I can't stop being. Being is just here. So when this answer comes from a place of insight, then it is a useful answer. So now the third clue is, which one is aware even of this being? What are the attributes of this one? What are the qualities? What is the flavor? What is the size or shape of this one that is now so naturally, effortlessly aware of your existence? Again, it is not about the reporting. It is not about the right answer. It is to use these questions to come to a direct insight about the unchanging self. As you are asking yourself these questions, you might find that something starts fluttering on the phenomenal side. It could be the mind, it could be some emotions, it could be some story, it could be the body, it could be your outside environment. So let all of these things just come and go. Consciousness itself has the power to do this. It is only playing as if it needs this direction. So whatever has to jump around on the phenomenal side of it, you let that jump around with no sense of impatience or rush. But you stay with the question, what is aware of my existence? For some of you, the mind might be screaming and saying, there's nothing there, there's nothing there. What's this about? Is it not enough to just know it is nothing? Actually, no. To know it is nothing is to actually be in denial of it. Because the idea of nothing is that it's like an empty glass, the absence of phenomena. What you will discover about yourself is that this is a full nothingness, and yet without attributes and qualities. I completely realize that these words don't make any sense to the mind. And yet, as you come to the recognition of this, you will know what I am pointing to. Because although it is empty of quality and attributes, it is not the nothing of the empty room or the empty glass. It is the nothing which is the source of all things. It is the source of your own existence. It is self-aware. The source of existence implies the source of all intelligence, the source of all that can be conceptualized, that can manifest, is your own self. So don't fall for the concept of nothing, although it is nothing. So come to the insight about this nothingness, which is the self. On which side of I am does consciousness want to play now? On which side of I am does consciousness want to play? This does not mean, by the way, that once the recognition is available, once the recognition is made about the source of existence, it doesn't mean necessarily that the play of existence will stop or reduce. The play of existence can continue. In fact, it truly becomes a play only when there is a recognition of the source. Till then, as much as we like, it doesn't truly seem like a play, because it can seem like I am a phenomenal entity contained in this phenomenal world, and therefore can be attacked, hurt, affected by the phenomenal appearance and the disappearance. Once you see that yourself is the source of all phenomena, and yet at the same time remains untouched and unchanging by any phenomenal movement, then you will start to enjoy this like a play. Also, the mind can come with a trick and say, this means that I must be in denial of phenomena. In fact, we are saying the opposite. Be completely inclusive of all phenomenal appearances, but just look beyond. You don't have to push away any phenomena. Include them in your experience, but also look beyond. And how to look beyond the three simple pointers that I shared today already. So this is the direct path to the recognition of the self. And most of you, having been in Satsang, and since this link for today was shared only with those who have mostly been in Satsang with me for some time, most of you have had insights about this. Direct insight of the self is not something, it seems like a abstract concept or something unachievable for most of you. So all of Satsang, all of this sharing is actually meant just for the transcendence of the limited idea we have about ourselves. As we are coming to the discovery of that which is prior to all phenomena, which is not constrained by any boundary, we realizing ourselves to be that which is prior to even consciousness. Consciousness itself coming to the recognition of its own source. In its play of delusion and self-recognition is all that is happening now. So as you are coming to the recognition of the self, the mind will continue to make offerings to you, pointing you back to your limited nature, reminding you that you are a limited entity after all. In spite of your recognition otherwise, the mind will continue to make these appeals to you and come up with things like, yes, it is okay for satsang, but what about the real world? It wants to convince you that the limited self actually took birth and you are that. Subtly or blatantly, in most messages from the mind is contained the story of our limitedness. And in this story, you are a limited entity trying to get to the self. That is why the recognition of what you are right now is important. You see, because no matter what the life circumstances might be, what the age of your body might be, anything, what the quality of your emotions might be, which kind of thoughts might be coming to all of us in this room and online, the insight about the self is the same. Therefore, this must be unchanging. See? The self is ever present, even more than ever present, actually, because presence itself is subject to the self. It is your limited ideas about yourself. And when I say your limited ideas, this is just consciousness referring to consciousness itself. Consciousness playing with ideas of limitations, posing as a limited entity, posing as a person, posing as if it is just the mind. In this lila that is being played. So satsang is nothing but these two aspects which are completely interlinked, which is the recognition of what is truly here. What is it that I truly am, even before I am? And how is it that I pose as if I am something which is limited? How do I pose as if I am personal? And the dissolution of this belief in this idea of limitation is interlinked very strongly with the recognition of the self. And the recognition of the self is interlinked with consciousness giving itself the space for this recognition by not believing itself to be what the mind is saying. That is why the recognition of the self and the letting go of limited concepts, letting go of our thoughts, are the two main aspects of direct satsang in this way. Now it is up to you as consciousness. How will you pose next? Will you pick up a pose, or will you continue to remain with your insight about what you are? And consciousness is completely free. It is more amusing and ludicrous to presume that you are an entity playing on this side of your existence. See, like a body mind entity or whatever terminology you want to use. And more natural actually to see that you are that which is aware even of this existence. And that is why consciousness has given itself this divine hypnotizer called the mind, which has convinced us for most of our existence, that I am just a small entity laying on this side of my existence, that which can be perceived. And so strong is the hypnosis that the question to really check what is the basis of my existence? Who am I really? Who is the I that is existing? Seems like a very rare question. And if you look at all of our lives, you'll see that due to some grace, this question came into our lives. If your mind is saying, I haven't understood anything, I've been sitting here for 1 hour, and Ananta, you've been speaking, and I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. Don't worry about it. As Guruji says, then the good way to look at it is that we have bypassed the mind because you're still here. Earlier, I've often called the sense of existence a portal which goes both ways. Is a portal anyway. So on this side is this entire phenomenal play of emotions and thoughts and stories and life and family and relationships. And I'm not saying that they must vanish. Attention can also go to it, but just a little bit of attention to what's on this side of the portal. Just a little bit of looking as to the source of this I am. What is the I in I am? I know all of you have been in satsang long enough to hear this question. What is the I in I am? Why is it I am and not you are? You say, I'm aware of the sense of existence. You see? It's almost objective in a way, isn't it? I'm aware of the sense of existence. So why don't we call it, oh, you are, oh, presence, you are. Why do you say I am? We are aware of it. And yet, what do we call it? I am. How come I? Even if the questions don't make sense, it's okay. Let them get land somewhere. How come it is I? This I is actually a much maligned word, especially in spirituality. We have maligned it completely and said I is the ego. I like very much when Guruji explained that this I is actually just a label. It's a chameleon eye. Thank you. It's a chameleon eye, which is used for the entire spectrum. He says, the devil says I, and God says I. What it means? The mind posing, the poser, the voice of limitation, the ego says I. We use the label I for the body also. We use the label I for our feelings. I am feeling. For our thoughts. For any sensations. We use the label I for I am. And we use the label I for that which is the source of I am. We also use the label I for our attention. Many times in satsang this happens. You say, It was completely clear with you, sitting with you, it's so clear. But I get stuck in some tendency, or I get stuck in my relationship. I get stuck. Which I get stuck. Many times we're referring to our attention. I get stuck with my thoughts. Referring to our attention also as I. This I is a label. But what is the truest I? Which is the I to which I cannot say not this? Like most of you know about the practice of neti neti. Just like we say, seen, seen, seen. I see it. I'm the witness of it. I'm the subject, not the object. So not this, neti. I see this. I'm the subject in this, not the object. Neti. See? Not this, not this, not this, not this. Does there come a point to which we cannot say not this? That point is where this is no longer phenomenal, and yet it is still I. So actually, this is the fourth clue. It's all the same actually. Sometimes we need various approaches to get to the same thing. What is it that we cannot say, not this? It is so originally, inherently I, that when we ask the question, who is aware of this? It points to this itself. It is so originally and inherently the self, I, that when we ask the question, who is aware of this? It points back to itself. This is the point at which you're coming to the non-phenomenal recognition of yourself. Some of these words that I'm saying today, as I'm hearing them also, I feel like it'll be very nice if you read them. Because if you hear them, it might seem like it's just a bunch of words and they seem a bit complicated. But if you read them at your own pace, slowly looking at that which is being pointed to, then you will see the simplicity of them. So I'm saying, if you ask who is aware of the computer, so it takes us beyond the computer. Who is aware of this body, takes us beyond the body. Who is aware of thoughts, takes us beyond thoughts. Who is aware of emotion, takes us beyond emotion. Who is aware even of existence, takes us beyond existence. Who is aware of this awareness? This is the point. Takes it back to itself. This is the self which is unshakable, unchanging, unborn, undying, everything, unlabelable, everything. It'd be really nice if those who are feeling interested can actually read the words and follow along at your own pace, digesting all of the pointing. Take your time over it.